One day I was looking in his eyes. He was 3 months old. And I was dealing also with a postnatal depression with also all these hormones. And I felt depressed about my future, my career. And just looking in his eyes made me confident, but it also rests me assured, like, what are you going to say to your child when he's dealing with something similar or he's dealing with something nasty at work? What would you tell him? And if you would say something to him like, you got to move or you got to take action to remove yourself from that toxic workplace, why are you not listening to that? And the moment that I heard that within myself, that was the moment that I have to break up from a bad relationship.
Hi, my name is Orlando and you're listening to Cooking Back to Our Roots with my mom, Vivian Acquah, the DEI consultant at Amplify DEI. My mom will be talking to different guest speakers from the African diaspora in the Netherlands. The podcast is not just about food, but also about connecting the conversation with our roots and cultivating a deeper appreciation for our shared heritage.
Welcome to the Cooking Back to Our Roots podcast. Vivian, this is a bit special because you're the host of Cooking Back to Our Roots. But today I feel incredibly honored to be in your seat. My name is Marcia, by the way.
I was about to say, who are you?
And I know. I feel like I should introduce myself, although I have been on your podcast multiple times.
Yes.
And I'm very, very, very privileged because I get to be part of the Cooking Back to Our Roots series as well. Yeah. And I feel extra privileged when you asked me to interview you to tell your story on your Cooking Back to Our Roots podcast. So that's why I am here. And that's why I have all these questions that I'm going to be asking you. Are you ready for them?
People, I'm scared. People, I'm scared. I'm scared about the questions that she's about to ask. No,
I'll be kind.
I value you as a true friend, but also I want to make sure that people also hear my side of the story in English and in Dutch as well, so that they can understand where this comes from, where Cooking Back to Our Roots comes from, and why I decided to jump into a huge adventure, but also an adventure that can build bridges.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had firsthand experience with that. So I'm really excited to be here. So I'm going to kick it off with, I'm really curious, who are you and what do you do?
Well, for those who don't know me yet, I am Vivian Acquah, Ghanaian, born and raised in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Some of you might know me as the proud mom of Orlando. I'm also the partner of Jan, who wished to be anonymous, so I'll keep it like that. I am 43 years old, even though I don't look like that. I look very young. I have my ombre hair, purple hair, and let's say that I started my career at a very young age, working as a financial consultant, IT consultant, had the opportunity to see so many companies, so many cultures, but then what made me become the person that I am today, or the person that is a DEI consultant, has to do with partially with Orlando and partially with myself as well, is that I faced a maternal wall bias. I was bullied during my pregnancy, and I'm blessed to have my child because it could have also ended up in a different situation. But my son, Orlando, is a blessing. He's literally my life coach because he's teaching us, his parents, he's teaching us the value of life, but also the challenges that we are facing as different individuals in today's society. And I'm proud to be able to be that person that is helping companies creating a virtual soil for diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that I hope that by the time that my child is either becoming an employee or entrepreneur, that's upon him, when he has reached that age where he can definitely point to, my mom did something about exclusion, what's happening right now.
Yeah, kids are interesting, right? They have such a big impact on who we are. They actually fundamentally change our brains as well. So I hear you. You. You talked about your roots a little bit already, but can you share a little bit more? You're from Ghana.
Yeah.
So could you share a little bit more about what your roots mean to you?
Yeah. So I haven't been to Ghana a lot, born and raised here, but then when I was 2 years old, my parents sent me to Ghana. So that's what I know. I don't remember much about that, but the things that I do remember is the warmth. Everybody in Ghana, the way that if you look at episode number 1, Kobe addresses me as his sister. It's very normal and common to address people as your family members. So everybody in Ghana could be my uncle. Everybody in Ghana could be my aunt. Everybody in Ghana could be my grandmother or my grandfather. That's how we create community. That's how we connect with each other. So the warmth, I'm looking forward to the warmth. To be fully transparent, at the time of the recording, it will be 23 years that the last time I've been to Ghana, it's 23 years. I know for a lot of people and a lot of Ghanaians listening to this episode, it will be a shock. But no, there's a reason for me not, visiting my roots. I want my child to be a little bit older to get the injections and all the medicine that's needed to visit Ghana. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to see the rest of the world, right? I wanted to be able to connect with different parts of the world. But now that my son is old enough and my partner is also getting curious more about Ghana, we are definitely going there sooner than later. Not going to mention when. And what else can I say about Ghana? Well, Ghana is known for its gold, its rich culture, but also the dark history. The way that, the Ghanaian people at the time were, let's say, they were trading. They are partially involved in the slave trade of the transatlantic slave trade, where they thought, they were exchanging people similarly into the way that they were treating their enslaved people, right? Which is much more humane than how people were treated by white people at the time. Ghana apologized for that, by the way, for its involvement in that, but also because they did not know. What else can I say about Ghana? It's a very warm country. It's one of the first African countries that remained, got their independence. Unfortunately, there are still African countries there that don't have their independence, right? Look at the French colony. Don't want to tap into that, so I'm going to stick towards Ghana. What I love about Ghana, wow, its richness, cocoa, chocolate, cocoa butter. When I think of Ghana, plantains. I think of the warmth of the people, but also the messiness. But first and foremost, it's the love that you feel that I can describe. I want you to visit that country, for you to experience it yourself, that you are embraced no matter who you are, no matter where you come from. Whereas in the Netherlands, you don't have that similar embracement. People have to get to know you better. It sometimes feels like you're being interviewed by people who you're not working for, just becoming friends. But we could learn so much more from the Ghanaian culture, where you are embraced because they see the lighting.
Yeah. Do you encounter any stereotypes being here with your dark-skinned woman? So you're a woman of color, and you can clearly see for the stereotypical Dutch people, you're not Dutch, right? Even though you were born here, and some people feel that way.
Yeah.
So do you encounter any stereotypes, for example, just to give you an example of what I'm thinking about, like you're African, which is weird because Africa is a continent, right? Like stuff like that. What do you deal with?
In the past, before being African was hip, right? Let's say that in the 90s and the 2000s and 2010s, yes, I've dealt with a lot of stereotypes. I mentioned in the show that being African wasn't hip. I wasn't seen as first class, neither second class nor third class. It was lower than lower class. And it did something with me because I didn't understand what have I done wrong. The only thing that was different was my upbringing, my culture, that's it. But in a way, I was dealing with a conflict between, yes, I can sense that I'm partially Netherlands because I'm raised here, but I'm also Ghanaian, which is sometimes causing a conflict on its own.
Yeah.
Where it can be sometimes challenging to deal with that. But then again, I am, what people don't know is I'm neurodiverse. I can sit in my own bubble sometimes. And what helped me was me sitting in my own bubble.
Right. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you said that it was the case and it's now you've grown.
No. I'm not dealing with that issue anymore. I'm a DEI consultant right now and I know better.
Yeah.
But when people try to, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm being excluded from the harshness, but now I talk back, I speak back, and I speak up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Then to bring it back to, because when you talked about Ghana, you said, what I love about that, well, the plantain, when you talked about food, right?
Yeah, let's talk about the show.
Cooking back to our roots. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite meal that you want to share with people?
I love eating baked plantains or fried plantains in the past, but I started to change frying them because when you're frying plantains at home, the smell of the oil smell afterwards, it's not something that you want to wake up the next day to, I've eaten fried plantains. So I think around the time that I became a mom for Orlando and also me living in a house where I cannot use gas has helped me to make a conscious decision of not buying a frying pan where you can smell the oil scents, and found out that I can still manage to mimic that similar taste, structure, and smell and everything by baking it in the oven.
Okay.
And that's what I did also within season number 1 of Cooking Back to Our Roots. I had Michanu, Charlene, where I showed her that there is a healthier way of baking plantains in the oven or even within the air fryer where you don't have to use that much oil and still can taste the essence of being back in Ghana by baking your plantains.
Yeah. You're making me hungry.
Oh, sorry.
You always do. Which leads me to the...
It's a disclaimer, people. Listening to this show or watching the episodes, I know that I'm not selling or sharing any recipes. For the recipes, you really have to look into the newsletter where I'm sharing more recipes from other people, right? How to make things. But I'm known to seduce people with food. So this is the disclaimer.
But why is that? Why is food it's a really big part of who you are, how you communicate, both in life and in your work?
I would blame my grandmother.
Okay.
In the first...
Thanker, right? Thanker, not blame.
Blame and tanker. It's because of my grandmother. My grandmother is, let's say, the foundation of who I am, but also the pillar of our family, at least my father's side of the family. And I noticed that a lot of people were saying that you resemble your grandmother in so many ways, and I could relate to her. Right. Not that I needed so many words to communicate with her, but being with her, just being with her presence of when she was cooking, I was diligent. I was watching her carefully, showing love. And the way that we show love, a Ghanaian way, is through food, right? Through our hugs and through the warmness that you get. And unfortunately, she passed away in 2009. She passed away in 2009, and I could not be there for her funeral. Mm-hmm. So for me, this is a way to tribute her. This is a way to connect my past with my present and also my future, which is my son, that he will find something, and also, the future generation will find some comfort in knowing who you are, where you come from, and knowing your roots. That's where it comes from. And I still talk to her like she's here. I know she's not here, but she's here in my heart. And it's my tribute to her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really, really wonderful. And it's a fundamental human desire, right? To have roots, to know where you're from. So that's a really nice way to do that.
Yeah.
You've had these conversations with a lot of people from many different places during this Cooking Back to Your Roots series. What did you learn from listening to their perspectives and their backgrounds?
I learned first and foremost that having this conversation, it's a privilege to get to know all these people on a different level, on a deeper level. Questions are being asked which are not normally asked when you're curious about somebody. And I've been mesmerized with the answers that, all the guest speakers have been sharing, and I realized I want to know more. I want to learn more, but I also want to be able to provide that platform for people to do some digging in their roots. The majority of the guests, so when they came up for the show or said yes to the show, the majority of the guests went back to their family and started asking questions about, where are my roots? What can I do? What can I learn? And this was even without me asking them to do that, right? They went ahead to do that. And I value that. I truly value the stories. And this project has been a blessing in disguise, because I'm dealing with the recovery of my ankle injury. And it has shown me a way that with or without this injury, you have a gift. And I'm using this gift to help others share their stories.
Yeah, you're doing it in a wonderful way. I can attest to that. Obviously, being one of the guests, the first thing I did after you invited me was stress Google Trinidadian recipes. So I was like, I didn't know it. Then I was like, Mom, Dad, what is typically like? It was all thing. But then it did lead me to think about my own background more and dig into that. So it truly is a gift. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
What about your own past? How do you look back on your own past?
I mentioned that I'm neurodiverse, so I realized that in my past, what has been helping me is me being neurodiverse and being in my own bubble. Because growing up as the only one, and I was the only one, I have three siblings, so 2 brothers, little brothers, and 1 sister. And the age difference is 8, 10, and 14.
Age difference?
Age difference.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a big age difference.
Yeah. So I'm the mama of the whole clan. And I was alone for a long time till I was 8. And it did something to me because I was the only one. I learned at a young age to become one of them instead of figuring out my own identity, right? Mm-hmm. And then after my brothers and sister came, it's normal that the elders helps with the family or taking care of the others. So I became a mom. And also that made it challenging for me to find my own identity. Mm-hmm. Until the time when I left house and started living on my own together with my then ex, I started to figure out who I was. Mm-hmm. What are my superpowers, and who do I want to be in the world, right? Because all this time, in the beginning of my career, I wanted to do something for them instead of something that makes me proud, something for others, or something that has stature, right? A lot of African people or people from the African diaspora, they believe in having a job that has stature, that pays well, that maybe provides a car and some bonuses, and you should be happy, not looking into what makes you happy and what makes you tick. Wasn't easy. Was not easy at all. And it's not that I don't want to remember, I don't want to, reconnect with that part of the Vivian, because I've had my conversation with psychologists. I've had my conversations with mental support, and it's challenging to grow between 2 cultures, dealing with parents that my mom is neurodiverse, so I understand her better now. But at the time, I did not understand her, and her way of caring was having a plate to eat or a dinner to eat, a house, and support. And when it comes to affection, it wasn't really at home. Mm-hmm. And that for me was challenging because I am the hug bear. I am the person that hugs or that wants to show affection in a professional way, of course, people. So don't come to me. Just want to make that clear. It was challenging. Yeah. It was challenging noticing that other kids did have that affection at home. I did not have that.
And did that, because I want to just also go back to what you said about always adapting. Mm-hmm. What comes to mind for me is
assimilating.
Yeah, it's code switching. Yeah. Right? Wherever you are, you switch to like the code that is appropriate for that situation, which is what a lot of people of color have to do in their professional lives every day.
Yeah.
But now, I've gotten to know you only a couple of years ago. and you stand out. With the way you dress, the way you look, you stand out. Is that the result of having to do that?
Yeah.
And then being like, no, now I'm going to be 500% myself.
Yeah, it's the result of that. I was always masking myself or living up to other people, their standards, that the moment that I became, let's say the moment that I became a mom, because that's what Orlando did with me. He unlocked my inner phoenix.
Yeah.
That's what he did to me. And the tipping point was dealing with the BS about me being pregnant, but also being bullied. I was like, no. And one day, I don't know how or when, but one day I was looking in his eyes. He was 3 months old. And I was dealing also with a postnatal depression with also all these hormones. And I felt depressed about my future, my career. And just looking in his eyes made me confident, but it also rests me assured, like, what are you going to say to your child when he's dealing with something similar, or is he's dealing with something nasty at work? What would you tell him? And if you would say something to him like, you got to move or you got to take action to remove yourself from that toxic workplace, why are you not listening to that? And the moment that I heard that within myself, that was the moment that I have to break up from a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Which wasn't easy. Because how do you do that when you want to leave, but the company doesn't want you to leave?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And but all of that has brought you to who you are.
Definitely. It was a bad breakup. I eventually made it out, but it was weird that they didn't want me. Then I wanted to leave. And then when I wanted to leave, they didn't want me to leave.
Yeah. But now you're gone.
Yeah.
And now you're here.
Yeah.
So we just talked about the past. Let's segue into the present.
Which present? Because I don't know what if I would want to talk about what's happening right now.
We're in an interesting relationship with each other at the moment in society.
And let's define the relationship right before people go thinking, what relationship are you referring to?
The political relationship.
Okay. Everybody thinking like, what?
No. We as human beings,
like in the Netherlands.
Yes, and maybe it's even a global phenomenon.
Yeah, also.
Yeah, I think it's everywhere, and what's happening right now in our country, the Netherlands, with politics is, I think, a reflection of what's going on in the world. But
to demystify what's happening, so recently, out of the election, a party won big. Not gonna mention this party name because I don't want to give this party a prison, but they won big, and I see them connecting themselves with far right. That's how I see it.
Yeah. The far right is, and like I said, that I think that is a global phenomenon.
Yes.
And you see that happening in the Netherlands, and it's unfortunately not completely unexpected. I mean, I'm sad about it because I don't adhere to that frame of thinking, but that's the way it is. That's the present. So is there anything that you want to share with people about how can we deal with this? How can we deal with, and I'm not just talking about the political situation, just the world in which we live, the present right now. How do we deal with everything that is going on?
I do believe that without, the conversation becoming too political, I do believe that we need to have conversations about this because a lot of people are walking around with WTF, I'm not going to swear, WTF, like what's happening here? We need to talk about it. I've seen situations where organizations want to not address it because they don't want to, make people choose on a political end. But then again, people need to be allowed to have these conversations in the workplace or at a certain setting, because if you don't, then something else is simmering. So I would encourage people to have a conversation in a safe space, psychological safe space, where they can address it. How do I find my safe space? Well, I'm part of different communities, right? I have had conversations for the show with OMEC. I'm very involved within the OMEC community. I'm also indirectly involved with Roots Inspire, and I have my tribe of people where I've been to. Marcia is one of my, I'm the person that always sends GIF. I don't express myself with words. I express myself with GIFs. And that's how I try to vent or try to express. Sometimes you need people, you need to be surrounded with people that lift you up, that support you, that cheer you, and be supportive no matter what. And I had many friends that do that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, sense of community, community is one of the 4 main pillars of well-being, right?
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense, particularly when you're
especially not
struggling. Yeah, exactly.
Especially.
While also, I think the challenge there is also creating a community that is still open to people who are others, who are different.
Yeah.
So that you don't resort to what is happening in society where people are like, there's a very much an in-group focus right now.
True. And what I try to address all the time is when you see me, I'm a very tall Black woman. What you don't see is I'm a neurodiverse woman. I am currently dealing with a temporary disability, and it's not that I'm not advocating for cultural diversity, but I'm sharing all these different labels towards me because I'm intersectional, and I want us to make space for other people, no matter what their background is, no matter what their opinion is. I want to make space for everybody. So it's not replacing the other ethnicity or somebody else. And that I'm seeing the media doing, right? Highlighting a lot of Black people in advertising, highlighting so many people. Companies do that as well, where I'm wondering, who are you fooling? Because people can look through that.
Yeah. It's the ultimate conundrum also for organizations, right? How do you do it? How do you get it right? And that's why it's so important that there are people out there with expertise and you open your doors as organizations to that expertise.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we talked about the past. We talked about the present. Now I want to talk about the future.
Let's please do.
Because I'm hoping that you're optimistic about the future. I'm hoping that we can end this on an uplifting note. What would be your message for the future that you want to share with everyone listening right now when it comes to dealing with challenges, dealing with everything that's going on?
I have 2 messages. One is identify who you are, find your values, find who you want to be. If you see a role model, look into yourself. Why are they role models for you? And trying to find your niche in this whole space so that you can be you. I don't want to be a copy of Marcia. I can't. She's a tornado for me. I don't want to be a copy of Anita. Cannot be. I don't want to be a copy of somebody else. I want to be uniquely myself. And being uniquely myself is embracing myself with the colors that I know I have inside of me, bringing that out. So therefore, you'll see me with my ombre hair because I've always doubted in the past of me wearing colorful hair would be professional. And eventually I said, F it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stand out. If maybe I wasn't already standing out, but still I'm going to stand out, wear my African dress and represent people in general. Yeah. And the second message that I want you to walk away with is find your mentor or your sponsor. I wish I had known that concept very early on in my career. That would have helped me. Even recently, I shared an image. I shared a post highlighting you, Marcia, because you have been very pivotal for me in my past year within my development personally, but also professionally. But I also talked about Hillary Rifters, where she's working in a domain which consultancy firm, which I started my career, and I was the only one. Being the only one in the workplace isn't fun.
No.
And I want you to find your mentor, to find your sponsor, to connect with them so that they can support you in not feeling alone and so that you don't have to invent the wheel, but create your little version of your own, tweak it a little bit. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you opened the door to bring in Formula One, because I get to say that Lewis Hamilton once said, to embrace your difference is to understand your potential. I had to put it, I told you, it was on another podcast of yours that I said, I will bring Formula One into any conversation.
If you could see my friends, now I have to open the door. If you could see my face. So I've been in a relationship for 13 years and my partner loves Formula One. Every time that he talks about Formula One, it's like, no, I'm leaving. He's not interested. No. So ever since knowing Marcia, she has managed to influence me to gain interest to addressing Formula One, not only in my home, not only in my podcast, managed to sneak attack Formula One in this conversation.
Listen, I'm putting you on a pedestal, right? Because you know how I feel about Lewis Hamilton and what he's doing for the world. So it is that I love you, that I tolerate this topic being addressed. But on all seriousness, though, Marcia knows how I feel about Formula One. I mean, it's not that I dislike the race or the sport, quote, quote, sport. It's about what I notice and what I see, and also about the multiple rounds that these races are driving, where I'm like, how sustainable is that? Yeah.
And a lot of things, but it's not about Formula One.
It's not about Formula One. Yeah. What this was about saying the message. Yeah, I know, because that's what I do. But I think the message, yes, is more important than the source. Like, it's about what you're sharing that same message. And I think that is really, really important, to embrace your differences, to understand the potential. And if you can find sponsors, not mentors, sponsors, who embrace that difference as well and who can see your potential, then that's how you can lift yourself.
Thank you for bringing me back into here, because I was on a little rant.
We good. I got you. Well, Vivian, thank you very much for being on your show. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone listening enjoyed it as well. And definitely, if you haven't yet done it, check out the other episodes of Cooking Back to Our Roots, because they really are amazing. You've done some amazing things here. So thank you for having me as a host on your show.
Thank you. It has been a joy. Don't listen into our conversation. I'll keep them private, but it's always a joy and a blessing to have a conversation with somebody that recognizes you, that sees you for who you are. And a little side note, people, I noticed Marcia at an event 2 or 3 years ago. Instead of saying, "Hi, my name is Vivian," I just kidnapped her to experience the VR experience. And since then, we have been connected, and she has been a true, true friend. And thank you for doing this.
I love that. Thank you very much, Vivian.
That's the end.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Cooking Back to Our Roots. I hope you enjoyed my mom's conversation with the guest speakers. If you love what you heard today, don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family. Until next time, bye!